I'm delighted to be joined now by Olympian Roisin McGettigan Dumas following the launch of the Olympic Federation of Ireland's new Olympic Schools Challenge, Road to Tokyo. It's an interactive challenge that engages with school children, encouraging them to get more active and teaching them about Tokyo and the Olympic dream. It's part of the OFI's Dare to Believe schools programme, supported by FBD, and it sees Team Ireland and a lot of the Olympian athletes going out there into schools and getting them on that road to Tokyo. It all kicks off from May the 4th and runs throughout the entire month. And I'm delighted to be joined today by the inspiration and the founder of the Dare to Believe programme, Roisin. You're very welcome to Sport for Business.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Delighted to be here.
Tell me, the road to Tokyo, the Olympic dream, where did it start for you? Can you remember when you were a school child, what it was that really sparked your interest every 4 years, as it probably was and still is, in this wonderful notion of the Olympics?
Yeah, I think, like my family is like every other Irish family. I know a lot. And we watched all sports. So everything that was going on was always like the center of the Saturdays and Sundays, just like what's happening. Is it golf? Is it football? Is it rugby? Is it athletics? And just always like looking for that green jersey where, like, as a kid, like, just where's the Irish people, and like me and my brother, like racing around the house and just reenacting what we're seeing on the telly. If it's tennis, we're out there hitting the tennis rackets, and if it's running, we definitely do lots of laps. So it was just kind of trying to connect with, oh, there's an Irish person on the screen, and that like that inspired me as a kid. I remember that, obviously not really understanding much. And then I think, as by the time I was 10 or 11 years of age, Sonia Sullivan, Katrina McKiernan were like dominant forces on the running scene. So that really just solidified like my passion and aspirations as a little athlete. And I just wanted to be them. It just, it really just did inspire me, and their, athleticism, their dominance was just so exciting. So I think that's kind of like the main time, especially around Barcelona. I remember that really because we were friends in Spain, so I was really connected to like Spain and like running. So everything just was like this perfect storm of just like, that's what I want to do. I was doing like little races, and I'd be in local interviews saying like, this is nice to win the Leinsters, but I want to go to the Olympics. And like, I can't believe I would say stuff like that. You know what I mean? But that's what they did to me. That's what they were so good that like, I just couldn't hold back. That's what I wanted to do.
I've been lucky enough to be at the Montjuic Stadium in Barcelona, where the Olympics was held then, but I never got to the Bird's Nest Stadium. You did. How did it go from being a child inspired by what you saw on the television to being an athlete who was stepping out onto the track in an Olympic final?
Yeah, look, I'd love to say, oh, it just was like, 2 steps later and there I was, but like, it was a whole ocean of like years of experiences and roller coasters, and to actually get to be, one of the athletes in the Olympics. So, there was, look, at night and day from that 11-year-old saying, I want to go, to going through adolescence, going to the US on a scholarship. And even after that, it took me, another 3 or 4 years to make it to the Olympics. So it took, a good 20 years of dedicated, life goal, like, pointing my life to that to actually make it happen. So, it was brilliant. It's brilliant to actually step out there and be prepared as I was, and to feel as good as I did, especially in the semi-final. I felt like I was able to tie all my experiences together and really enjoy it and capitalize on all those years of dedication and commitment and learnings, to put it lightly. It was a brilliant experience. I remember the semi-final, I just felt like I was floating around. I felt so within myself. The final, I felt like a whole different athlete, and that was a whole nother story. But it was really just, it was brilliant. Yeah, it was a high for sure to get out there and not just be there, but to actually perform. It was a brilliant night. The semi-final. Yeah.
Well, as what you do as an individual matters most to you as an individual, but the important thing is how you actually can perhaps give that back and expand on that. That's
Mm,
what you're doing. So Dare to Believe
exactly.
is the idea that you created to come up with a program that would inspire the next generation of you, for example, to go on to, it probably will be Paris, it might be Los Angeles, or wherever we
Yeah.
go on the
Yeah.
Olympic journey after that. Just give us a 10-cent tour as to what the program actually delivers in schools and how it's different this year now in the midst of the
Yeah.
pandemic.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, exactly. So when I got back from the Olympics, just on that, like I got back from the Olympics and like, okay, so now I feel like, well, right there, what was that all about? I was just, you kind of point to this tunnel and, you have this tunnel vision, and you come out of the Olympics, you're like out of the tunnel and you're like, what's up, what's down? Like, and then people are like, come and talk to the schools, and you realize, hey, actually, this isn't just about me. This is me now. Kind of, how do I use that platform to close the loop and get back to my community, get back to the next generation, and share some of my experiences. So, somebody from your town is doing something around the world, like, connect those things back to the children in your area. And I just thought, like, we athletes should be doing this. Like, we need our performances to happen one night to live a little bit more than that. It can't just be about that one day, because it just doesn't compute. Like, athletes are more valuable than just that one performance. And I just wanted to have the athletes as role models in their local areas, going in, talking to kids. And I just think there was more there for athletes to do, and just connect those two dots in that way. And so what we developed was the core program of Dare to Believe is a 5-module program that talks about different Olympic values. And at the end of the program, we have an Olympic ambassador tell their story, and we've helped our athletes to create presentations and connect with the kids in that way. So it's been really nice so far. The response we got was really great from the teachers, and the testimonials from athletes and kids and teachers. So that's been brilliant. And then this year, besides developing a secondary school program, which we're hoping to launch later in the year, it was hard for us to test it with COVID and everything. And this year we talked to the teachers, and primary school teachers, and they've been told that we had to prioritize health and well-being. We have to prioritize health and well-being. And we thought, look, if we can create something the whole school can get involved in, it's not just in 5th and 6th class core kind of doing the modules, that this would be a good way for the whole school, younger kids, to connect with what's happening in the Olympics, and have this team environment and team spirit to learn a little bit the Olympics, to connect with Team Ireland, and be physically active themselves, which is the whole point. That by being physically active, you can learn things about yourself, you can learn things about teamwork, you can learn things about respect and value and excellence and joy of effort and all of these cool things. So that's worth can teach. So this is our kind of solution for this year, that we thought this is a great way for a bigger audience to really connect with the road to Tokyo and the journey the athletes are on. So this is like a more of like an interactive solution, where we engage kids by them doing something physically active and then logging it in and watching their little map, their little tracker move along the map and computing that distance. And then we have a couple of stops from Dublin to Tokyo. We stop in Athens, we learn a bit more about the Olympics. We stop in New Delhi, as it's just kind of like a little pit stop. Then we stop in Fukuroi, which is the training camp for Team Ireland. And we've got like nice little cultural videos and things like that. And then we've got Tokyo. And along the way, we have like challenges, and they're learning to write the name in Japanese, or they're doing this chopstick challenge. And so it's got a lot of fun, different things. And then the whole point is that they're physically active for an hour a day, every day of the month. And that's like the World Health Organization's guidelines. We know from the physical activity plan from the National Health and Physical Activity Plan, that we need Irish kids to be more active, that only 1/5 of them are getting that required amount. So this challenge would, actually help with that, because if we can get all the kids who do this challenge to do an hour a day, now we've got, this is really our part to get those numbers up. And I think as athletes and ambassadors for the Olympics, like, this is our job as well. If who else could talk about this kind of lifestyle except Olympic athletes? So I think yeah, I think this is where we've come with all these different pieces, and we're kind of, it's showing up in this little Olympic School Challenge, and that's where we're at this year.
I love the way it sounds, and it's extending the journey both on the way in and the way out, because of course the Olympics itself is only 16 days, and we've got a
Yeah,
full 4 years of
yeah.
activity in between that time. Is there a sense these days where we are so used now to seeing every sporting event that we might want to being televised? It's been particularly relevant around some of the Olympic sports that we were able to watch the Irish hockey women's team competing up in Belfast a couple of weeks ago. We were able to see athletics, we're able to see swimming championships. It might be streamed, it might be on mainstream, but there's a lot more sport on television. It's not quite the same beacon out there as the Olympics would be your stop everything moment. Or does it
Mm-hmm.
still have that, do you think?
I hope so. I think, I think it's brilliant that there's more, more activity on, because I mean, kids, if you think of it, for how does that work for a kid? 4 years is a long time in a child's life. So to have these athletes showing up weekly, like, and that's what I think I'm so grateful for having Sonia and Katrina. They were so dominant for every weekend for years, right? That we need that. We need that in between the Olympics. We need to have that visual. We need to see these athletes on there. And then of course the Olympics has that massive kind of hype around it, that just the aesthetic force of the whole spectacle of it, that I think is what will connect kids and put them in awe of like what's this all about. And even athletes, if you think about it, like they know there's more to sport than just the Olympic Games, but yet it's still the focus of their 4 years, no matter what sport they are. And even the golfers kind of coming in now and choosing it, like, they don't need that, but they are, because it's something different about the Olympics. And even Serena Williams and other athletes, they talk about their Olympic medals, and how important they are compared to even some of the the top other events in their sport. So there is something about all the sports coming together and the spectacle of the games that it differentiates it from other global championships, I think. And I think so I think, to your point, I think we need both. We want more access to our sports and see more sports on TV. I think that is the most important thing. And seeing these athletes, and we know that the research is showing that, like, if you see the sports for long enough, you will get engaged in them, and you'll follow them, and they'll get the spectatorship and all of that. So it does have that ripple effect, and it's really important to see the athletes more, and that virtuous cycle of, okay, I'm a hockey player, there's hockey on TV, and what that does is massive. And I think then the Olympics is just the big kind of like excitement part that we get to enjoy. So
I think we saw at the US Masters over the weekend as well, the fact of having a Japanese golfer, Hideki Matsuyama, winning the Masters. But the bigger part was that it was in the Tokyo Olympic year. So he would be competing for Japan for an Olympic gold medal, and that was really special.
I'm excited for them. That's going to be great.
How many kids and how many schools are you going to be able to reach out to over the coming period of weeks?
So with this, the cool part of with this new challenge, we don't have like a cap on that. Like, there's no limitation of how many schools that we can have. When we have the one-on-one visits with the ambassadors, we do have limitations on that, as in, like, we've a finite amount of athletes with a finite amount of time that they can actually go into classes. But with this, all schools can engage with, all primary schools can engage with it without us hitting that mark of, like, we actually can't take any more schools. So we'll see what that number is. We don't actually know. So this is the first go of it. So whatever it is, we know, myself and my co-developer on this, Roisin Jones, like, we are talking, like, our goals for this, and we're like, okay, we have that kind of number in our head, but we also know that it's kind of like the first time you do a race or anything, the season opener, you're like, how do I how do I adjust now going forward? Like I got this mark on the board, and now we're always looking to grow and develop in that way. And thankfully Roisin is a brilliant businesswoman in that way as well. She's really ambitious with, you know, how we perform in this, and how organized we are for it. And so we hope that we've done the due diligence to like make it a really successful, engaging tool for teachers, and a solution for teachers, because they're told more and more and more, and the teachers are overwhelmed. So this is like hopefully an easy fit for teachers, that this is like PE lessons there. There's, you know, it's a way to engage your kids to do more physical activity without adding more to the teacher's plate, you know.
And we've all grown used to a little bit of homeschooling over the last number of months as well. If the school doesn't sign up to it, is there any way for families or individual kids to actually get involved in following the program as well this year?
Yeah, so we'd love that side of it. We've had to focus it on schools this year just because it's been the first go, but we do want to have that in the future. And, you know, if your school hasn't signed up, if a parent or kid is listening to this and they haven't signed up, they can like ping their, you know, we have it set up in a way that they can ping their schools and ask them to register politely, you know. So we definitely, you know, yeah, we're kind of focusing on the schools this time, but yeah, maybe in the future we'll open it up more to more families and stuff as well. So I know my family want to be involved, so we'll see.
It sounds like a brilliant idea. I'd love to be able to write my own name in Japanese, so I'd be
Oh
one of those.
yeah.
Gone a few years past primary and national school now at the moment. So the important things then, how does a school get to register? How does a parent encourage a school to register? And what's the closing date for applications to be in by?
Yeah, so we've got the challenge starts on May 4th. So between now and May 4th to kind of register and set up some teams. So one school can register, and then they can set up as many teams as they want. So it can actually be like a, you know, a school initiative where the schools, you know, the school classes are all challenging each other. We have a cool leaderboard, so you can see, you know, and Mrs. O'Hara's 6th class is, you know, beating the Wicklow Warriors 4th class or whatever it is. And I think that's going to be a really fun thing for schools to do. So if they go to, you know, Dare to Believe /Road to Tokyo, you will see it all there. The registration is very easy. We have the schools kind of plotted in, so they should be able to find their school and access it that way. And then they can add as many teams as they want and get going. We are focusing it on between May 4th and May 31st to have a 4-week kind of proper challenge. So, you know, schools want to hold off till then. They can get more teams involved to kind of get prepared first, and you can get started on the first challenges are available. You can kind of test out the resources there. We've got the PE lessons. We've got brilliant PE lessons demonstrated by, you know, Anna Flanagan and Sarah and Ollie Dingley. And they've got, you know, very cool like videos that we produced with a great team. It's been a brilliant team effort. So you'll learn a lot of cool facts about Ireland and the Olympics and Japan and everything. So yeah, I don't know, if they want to check it all out and get geared up and, you know, join us all on May 4th, that would be brilliant. So
great idea. Looks like a brilliant execution as well. The very best of luck with it. And thanks for taking the time to join us today, Roisin McGettigan Dumas.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks very much.